a lot of you really liked my day in the life as a production assistant when I posted that, and that got, I think that's like over 1,000 views at the moment, so thank you. I was like, you know what, I'll do another one, a bit of like an updated one for 2021. So I've got a to-do list and things that I need to do, so I'm basically just going to be going through each of those, taking you with me, screen recording it so you can see exactly what I'm doing, and hopefully you can find out a bit more about what a production assistant might do. So just before I start this video, just a quick disclaimer, everything I'm about to cover does not contain any confidential information. Roles do vary at different publishing houses, so everything I'm about to cover isn't exclusively what a production assistant would do in the book publishing industry. It's just my personal experience. I think, is that all I need to cover? I think, yeah, okay, let's get into it. So if you find this useful, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Your support really does mean a lot to me, so thank you so much. So one of the biggest responsibilities of my job is reprints, and that's self-explanatory. It's reprinting a title, a book that's already been published and we're just low on stock of it. So what I have to do for this is run the P&Ls first of all, so the profit and loss reports, to get the costings, see how many we need to print in order to make up our margin, our markups, to make sure that we're obviously making profit on it because we are a business. Then I'll probably do a bit of typesetting as well. It's Friday, so I have sent my titles to press today, which means, yes, sending the files to the printer so that they can start printing on it. So I have sent those already, but I am waiting proofs. So when the digital proofs come through from the printers, I just have to check it, make sure they're okay, and they can go ahead on printing that. So this is a link to one of the digital proofs for the reprint that I'm going to look at now. So the proofs look slightly different in terms of the like red lines basically. Oh yeah, so this is my work log. This is where I track the reprints that I've been doing. So say like the title of it, the ISBN, the important dates, so when we're informing the printers that the files are coming, when we actually send them to the printers, and then when we want it in stock. Then this is all like the specs of the book. So yeah, whether it's paperback or hardback, etc. Any additional information. So for example, this one I sent to press earlier today, it was going from China to Hong Kong and then going to America and then UK because we needed it in both our warehouses. So first things first, always use the measure tool. 198 times 129, yeah, perfect, that's a common TPS. That's fine, just make sure that they've got the colophon in the right place and it's updated, and then on the imprint page just making sure that the reprinted line has been updated, that we've got our addresses in there, etc. Make sure the ISBNs are correct. I mean, at this point you would have done a lot of these checks when you're sending the files off for typesetting. This is just kind of making sure that the file looks okay to be printed. I mean, if we scroll through and the text was completely off center, you'd obviously know that perhaps there's been an issue with creating this proof on the printer's end. Yeah, just making sure that it's fine. So I mean, from a rough look at it, it looks fine. Then I have another one to look at. It's Midsummer Night's Dream. When we were in the office, we used to have advanced copies come through and we could check the colour and the printing of them then, but obviously we're working from home at the moment, and so it just digitally you'd have to just check that the colours of them look okay, it's not too dark, not too light, etc. But yes, that one looks okay. Okay, I'm going to hide the prices there, but to just say that the text proofs have been approved for these two titles. So typesetting is what I'm going to be doing next. That's what we do for reprint. So every time a book is reprinted, you have to change a couple of things, whether that's the reprinted line in the copyright page or if it's like a correction that's been noted by the author or the editorial team. We usually do that on Monday, but I have quite a few reprints this week, so I'd rather just do it on Friday, give the typesetters long enough time to do it, because we usually ask for it back for the Wednesday, ready to send to the printers on the Friday. So then the next titles to work on that are going to press next week are these ones here. So how many are there? There are 11. So that means I have to do the typesetting of those ones kind of like today or Monday, ready to have the text files back for Wednesday. Unfortunately, for confidentiality reasons and when speaking to the legal team at Bloomsbury, I can't tell you what systems we're using, but if you happen to recognise any of them that you use at your workplace, I'm just now going to go on to our server that holds all of our files. So I've just downloaded the text file for one of the titles I need to do typesetting for. So it's this title called Key Writings. So I've just downloaded that from our internal server that holds all of our files. I've downloaded the print text PDF because there's different types of PDFs that you can have, but this is print text because self-explanatory, it's the one that's going to the printers, the one that eventually is going to be printed. When you're doing the typesetting, a misconception is that we actually do the typesetting. We don't, as production assistants. We get it sent off to external suppliers to do it. We just tell them what needs to be done. So first of all, I measure it and make sure, yes, this is what it's supposed to be. So compared to my workload, it's supposed to be 216 by 138. Again, that's another common specification. In inches, that's 5.5 times 8.5 inches. So that's all fine. Just check, obviously, that it is the right title. Make sure that we've got the imprint, the colophon and the imprint page is the updated one. If it's like an old one, we like to update them to make sure that they're the newest possible. Then this is what we change every time we reprint a book. So we change the reprinted line. So I'm going to say reprint 2020, reprinted 2021. We also are missing our island address here. So I'm just making a note there to add in our island address because that's missing. And for Brexit reasons, etc., we need that in there now. Checking again that the ISBNs are correct, etc. And then just generally looking if there were any corrections as well, that would be on our content management system to say that, yeah, any corrections need to be added in. Just from an overall look, everything's centered. In terms of page numbers as well, making sure that's correct. So 240, the one before that's 239. I mean, the thing is that you have to remember with reprints is, yes, obviously do your checks on them, but they have been printed before this. Like this is an original file from the first time that it was printed. That's the whole point of it being a reprint. So, you know, it was correct at one point. So there's not much that could go wrong. Whereas if you're working on frontlist titles for new publications, that would be slightly different. So yeah, just to make that clear that these are reprints. So all I'm doing now is using our content management system to create a purchase order for the typesetters. And I'll save that to my files and then send that to the typesetters along with the text file that's got all the commentary on it on the changes that need to be made. And then ask for them to come back to me in a few days' time next week with the corrected file. So this email that I've just come through now, what was happening with this is I sent a P&L for 75 copies of this book to be printed and it wasn't making markup. So that basically means the percentage of how much we're selling it for compared to how much we're spending on getting it printed. We weren't basically making enough profit. So the conversation was looking to see if we could get costs for 100 copies instead to see if that makes a difference. So I sent them the costs for 100 copies and then I sent them the P&L, the profit and loss report for that as well. And it's just come through that we've approved 125 copies, so we've gone up again. So I'm just going to add that on here now. How to be a writer is going to be 125 copies and it has been approved to print. For a reprint to be 125 copies, that's not uncommon, but it's quite low. Obviously, the more books you print, the cheaper it will be in terms of the unit cost. So ideally, you want to print as many as possible, but if you know that you're not making that many sales on them, there's obviously no point keeping them in the warehouse and just hoping that one day they'll sell. If we compare it to one that I've just done this week, the Crucible, I think I studied that at school at GCSE, but this one we're printing 10,000 copies, so that just kind of shows how it can differ. I think the drama titles do sell more copies because they go to schools, etc. as well, whereas some of our other titles, so literary studies, history, philosophy, whatever it is, we perhaps won't sell as many of them because I work in academic, a lot of our titles go to universities or libraries or students, academics, anything like that. So not as many people will be buying them. If I were to work in trade and work on like fiction titles, the reprints would be a lot higher. So they'd probably be more like 20 to 30,000, depending on how popular the title is. I've been sent a few more PIs as well, so print instructions from our inventory managers. So that means I basically just have to get costs. So I'm going to be doing a few of those today as well. Usually when we're in the office and it's just been our financial year end, which is at the end of February, we usually clear out all of our bookshelves, rearrange them, etc., depending on what's been published and reprinted that year. Where we're not in the offices at the current time of filming this, we've just been advised to do a bit of a digital cleanup as well of our folders, you know, deleting any files that we no longer need to keep or anything. So I'll probably do that in the afternoon just as like a more chill, relaxing task. But yeah, that's one of the things that I'm going to aim to do today as well. I also work on NIPPOD, so that stands for New in Paperback Print on Demand titles. So I sent some text files off to the typesetters for some corrections a few weeks ago, so I'm going to now just check those, make sure that they're all in order. So I have a separate work log for my NIPPODs. These are the ones that I'm working on, etc. So if we go to the May ones, it should be all of these ones that have been corrected. The original file comes from the hardback file, and then because now that the paperback has come out, so it's usually 18 months after, you would add in the paperback ISBN, and then you would add in a line to say when this paperback edition was published as well. So in this case, it's 2021. So if we look at this one, Prem Rawat and Counterculture, should be 234 by 156 millimeters, 248 pages. And the corrections were just the paperback line, the paperback ISBN, and then the island address being added again. So we can scroll over here and it's 234 by 156, that's fine. The difference between these POD files, and so POD because it's NIPPOD, so it's still technically a POD file, and print text files is they don't have trim page lines. So if you just scroll on here, that is the accurate measurement. Fine, so they've added in the island address, that's fab. They've added in the sentence that says this paperback edition published in 2021. And then they've added in the paperback ISBN. I'm just going to check that is correct as well. So it ends in 448. And so this one ends in 448 as well. So that's fine. Usually with POD files and NIPPOD files, the images will be mono, so black and white. So just making sure that if any of them were changed from colour to black and white, that they look okay. Also for POD and NIPPOD files, there needs to be blank pages at the end of the file. Yeah, it does. Just the way that it works with our POD printers, it needs to be there 1 or 2 blank pages at the end. This one is there, so that's fine. So that file all looks okay to me, 248 page extent, looks okay, all the corrections have been made, so I can go back to them and say that that one's fine, and then they can upload that to our system. And then I will basically just go through and do that for all of them now. So this one is slightly different. Edition in Sultan, this actually needed a new imprint page. So this is an IBT title, so IB Taurus is an imprint that we acquired. So although we're keeping it as the IBT branding, the colour font and the imprint page needed updating because it was an older version. So just checking that that's the newest one and that the imprint page is updated as well. Yeah, a lot of my job, to be honest, is just checking text files, whether that's to the printers or POD files or whatever it is. It's a lot of checking text files. 9 times out of 10, even more than that, there's no issues, there's no corrections, etc. Then I really like to stick to kind of key dates, and we do have like a key date schedule that gets sent round to us to basically say these are the key dates that you need to stick to in order for this book to make publication. So NIPPODs, although they are print on demand, they are technically new publications because they're new in paperback, and so they have a pub date. So these ones that I'm working on now, they publish on the 20th of May, that's their pub date, their publication date. So working backwards from that, you want them live, well, as soon as possible, but you know, a couple months before. So these text files were due a couple of days ago, and I did receive them a couple of days ago. And then once I've approved all the text files, I'll just mark in my workflow that they're all okay, and that I've received the cover. So I'll check with the designers now to make sure that there's no delays on that and the cover will be ready. And then this column here is basically saying if I've updated the metadata or not on our system, and then distributed. So this is when I aim to actually distribute the files. So by that, like digitally just distributing the file, sending it to the POD printers. And then hopefully within sort of a month's time, they will be able to get that live and it's available for printing, ready for our pub date of May 20th. So I'm going to cover some of this up, but I use on Outlook the task systems here. So you can see that I've put in kind of all the key dates here. So May NIPPODs due live, for example, is on the 6th of May, and that reflects what's in my work log, or it should be there, yeah. I can basically just keep on track of when things are due in, because it can be really hard when titles are all at different stages. They're all publishing in different months. And so I like to just keep that there when files are due in. Like if typesetters are late, for example, I know when to chase them up because they're behind. Unfortunately, I don't have any covers to check at the moment, but things that I would check on that would be that the TPS is correct, that the extent is correct, because if you think about it, a higher extent to the number of pages in it would be result in a thicker book, and therefore the spine would be thicker. So making sure that that's correct, so that the cover, the spine is the correct width. Checking that the colours look okay, checking that there are no changes to the author affiliation in the book, like the blurb, checking that the ISBN is correct, checking that we have the specific POD barcode on the back, checking that obviously it's the right book, checking
just check in basically. So when I get those through from the design team, I will look at those.
So another responsibility of my job is managing the author project management survey, and that's a survey that we send out to authors to get their feedback on things like proofreading, copy editing, communication, indexing, etc., based on the service that our external project managers, typesetters, provide for them. And I manage that, so I will send out the surveys and then I'll collate their results, and then once I've kind of got as many results as I can for all the titles that have gone to press that month, I share that with our external team and wait for it to get approval before sending it off to the project management companies themselves so they can see how they've been performing. The whole idea of that is because if they're consistently performing badly, we will give them what's called a black mark, and if they get 3 black marks, then we will consider like terminating our contracts with them basically. So it's basically just a way to make sure that they're providing the best service that they can, because essentially they work on behalf of us, if that makes sense.
I won't be able to show you this properly, but what this spreadsheet is our author project management survey sheet, and it's where I collate all the results from an author. And we have questions 1 to 5, and I'll put in there what they scored for that question. And I can see what project management company were working on that title as well, so I can see who I need to go back to if there was any issues, etc. I've just got a reminder to have some lunch. I sent these emails from one of our design team. That's usually because they have uploaded a cover for me. So this one, I know Bunnies is a POD file and it's Oberon. So we acquired Oberon. We have a priority POD list at the moment. So all the ones that we're really low in stock in, and we need to get POD as soon as possible so people can start ordering them. And this is the design team basically just saying that they have uploaded that to our file server thingy. So it's ready for me to check. This email here is almost like an automatic feed from our content management system, but the person who's feeding it can add an extra note. So this is basically saying that this title that I was mentioning earlier, that for 125 copies, it's been approved to print, basically just so that it's in our system, so that if anyone were to query the status of it, etc., they can see that it's now been approved to print. I feel like that's mainly it, to be honest. I don't really know what else I can show for confidentiality reasons, but that's kind of it. That's just another day in the life as a production assistant. Been working a lot on reprints, on NIPPODs. We'll look at that author survey a bit later on as well, do a bit of a digital cleanup.
So I think that's basically all that I needed to share today. I hope that's useful for you in knowing what a production assistant might do in the book publishing industry. Let me know down below if this was helpful or you have ideas for future videos, etc. And thanks for watching. Bye.